Hello, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to take a look at my best of list, my best of the comics that I read this year in 2025. So earlier on, I had started doing a lot of the bagged and boarded episodes where I was trying to do weekly or monthly recaps of the things that I read and the issues that the books that I was enjoying. And unfortunately, that's a lot. That's a lot for me to do. Time does not allow for weekly videos all the time. So there's going to be a lot of books here that we talk about that I've not yet talked about, and I'm really excited to do that. So with that said, I couldn't keep it to 10. I couldn't keep it to 5. I don't know. So I've got a list of, we'll do a top 10, but then I also have a list of, and there's, I think, 8 books here that are, just outside the top 10. And as I was trying to whittle these down, I really wanted to talk about each one of these. So I didn't want to remove any of them just to kind of get it down to an honorable mention 5 and whatever. It's my list. Who cares? I'll put timestamps in the descriptions if you want to skip over some of the honorable mention books. And go right to the top 10 if that's your thing. I'll do that. But anyway, let's jump into it. And we're gonna start off. These are in no real order as far as they're not ranked 11 to 18 or whatever it is. But yeah. So we're gonna start off with a book that's only I think it's only a 5-issue series. 4 issues are out, but it's called Everything Dead and Dying. It's by Tate Broomall, it's a writer, and Jacob Phillips is the artist. Now, it's a story set in a zombie apocalypse. So think Walking Dead, but less about the action, less about the zombies. Even Walking Dead started out really strong as far as making it really about the characters, and that's what this is here. This is really it's a family book. It's about a man who is living in the zombie apocalypse, trying to keep up a routine, involves his family, his husband, his daughter, and really trying to. It's a really heart-wrenching story, but really it tugged at the dad heartstrings. There's some really emotional scenes involving him and his daughter, and it really surprised me. It was not a book that I kind of happened to pick it up because it was a number 1, and zombies, like that's always fun. I thought it would be a little more action heavy, and there is action in this book, but what I got instead was so much more rewarding. All right, next up we'll do Bug Wars. I've talked about this one in some videos, but Jason Aaron, Mahmoud Asrar are the creative team, and this is just a fun freaking book. I think it was a 6-issue series, but they're coming out with more in 2026. So I'm looking forward to that. But Honey, I Shrunk the Kids meets Conan, essentially, or like a Game of Thrones. Add some elements of that in. But there's factions of bugs. They're at war. There's this human who gets shrunk down to size, and all of the action takes place out in his backyard, and it's him trying to figure out his dad had a connection to all of these bugs, and it's a kid trying to understand what happened to his father. His father had passed away. Again, it was like father-son, father-daughter books, whatever. I'm a sucker. But yeah, it really is. It's just a fun book. So go check out the trade. I think all 6 issues. I think the trade for 6 issues is out now, but really solid read, really fun. You can pick it up and knock it out, and you're gonna have fun with it. Next up is a book that I was turned on to this year. It's Kaya. It's Wes Craig's Kaya, and now this is issue. I think issue 26 is either issue 25 or 26 is where I started buying the singles, but I think there's 4 or 5 trades out now, and it's an epic fantasy about a girl who is trying to protect her little brother. Her little brother is, the chosen one, essentially, and it's her protecting him. It's siblings fighting. It's them trying to. It's her trying to take him to a place where he, as the chosen one, can do the most good, essentially. There's this robot army that they fight. There's all these reptiles that they fight. There's all these beautiful looking monsters. Just a really fun, epic fantasy romp, and more of an all ages book as well. Really fun. Wes Craig, and he said that it's going to be, I think, 50 issues is his target to take this series up to 50, and then it's going to, complete the book. And I love that. I love that concept. I love the idea. It's like, hey, this is the end. So I think we're at issue 35 now, maybe. So 34 or 35, somewhere in that range. Just a fantastic book. All right, now here's kind of like the polar opposite of a fun action heavy romp like Kaya, but it's Dust to Dust by J.G. Jones and Phil Bram. Now, this is a book that's just all about atmosphere and mood. Now, yes, I've heard critiques on this saying it's a slow burn, and that is absolutely true. This is a very slow book, but it's meant to be. It's by design, and that's part of the experience of reading this story. It might not be for everyone, and I totally get that. But for me, it provided a different type of book to enjoy. So it's set in the Dust Bowl, a lot of small town characters. It's them trying to deal with the reality of the Dust Bowl, the famine. It's just it's depressing, and then there's you add a murder mystery on top of that. So really enjoy this book. I think there's one more issue that is set to come out, and yeah, that's again not going to be for everybody, but the art is beautiful. The story, like I said, is slow, but you really feel the atmosphere and the situation that these people are in, and that is an accomplishment. Switching up again, here is this is one that I really enjoy this book. It's a little uneven as far as some of the creatives, the art involved, just because. Well, here I'll say what it is and I'll explain it. So it's Exquisite Corpses by James Tynan and Michael Walsh. I feel like this would be higher on my list if it was all Michael Walsh art. Now the changeover in art styles is not super noticeable, but I really love Michael Walsh's art, and I would really like to see it all be that. But another small town story, but they are the location for this battle for the shadow government that controls everything. There's 13 families that every 5 years they find a small town. Each of the families hires a contract killer. They wall off the town, drop all of those 13 killers in there, and the family whose killer survives the longest in this small town is the winner, and then that family controls the United States, the shadow government for the next 5 years. So love the premise. The citizens don't know what's going on, and it's they slowly figure out, they learn about what's going on. It's terrifying. It's creepy. It's a good horror book, good action. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like I said, it would be a little higher if it was maybe, I don't want to say consistent, but it just presented in a consistent way, is one small critique I have for it. But really, really enjoy it. And I'm looking forward to, I think it's a 12-issue series, which will make sense because it's, the tournament eliminating all the killers. But yeah, I think it's going to be a great read once it's all completed, because some of the critiques I have are probably from a month-to-month type read. But once said and done, it's going to be a great 12-issue read. So here's another book that, not a lot of people talk about, and it's not on a lot of pull lists, but I really enjoyed it. It's actually a sequel to a book that I read last year. It's Skin Police 2. It's a sequel. It's written by Jordan Thomas, and art is by Daniel Hett. Now, I love this book. I think it's super fun. It is in a world where there's a fertility pandemic. So people are unable to have children. So one way around that, they decide to clone themselves, and then they raise that clone as their baby. But they discovered that clones are unstable, and they have a tendency to what they call they pop. So what happens is they kind of blood vessels pop in their head, and they just go berserk, and they go on a murderous rampage. And so they've been outlawed. So that it's illegal to clone anymore. There's a police force who they're the skin police. That's what they're referred to as their slang term. They go out and they find these clones and try to get them off the streets before they pop. So there's a lot of intrigue involved. There's a mystery. It's just a fun read, and it's only, I think it's 4 issues was the first series, and 4 issues is the second series, and fun, quick 8-issue thing. And I'm sure they'll do a trade maybe with a book with all 8 issues, and I think that would be really fun to just sit down and experience. It reminds me of like a Blade Runner type vibe, but the sci-fi world, and the art I really thoroughly enjoy. So it's definitely worth checking out, because I know not a lot of people have. All right, next up. Now, this is a book that I was really high on last year. Still high on it. Really enjoy it. But there was a kind of a pause in some of the publication. So there haven't been a lot of issues that came out this year. But it's Falling in Love on the Path to Hell. So the trade paperback for volume 1 came out in January. And then I think they're at issue 12 now. So I think only 5 issues came out in all of 2025. But they're really fun. They're a really great read. It's a gunslinger and a samurai who are they're falling in love on the path to hell. They're stuck in this limbo area. They find a connection. They fall in love. They have a partnership. There's a bunch of different types of characters from different historical eras that populate this limbo. So it's just super fun. You get to see the the contrasting styles of the weaponry of the characters of their period pieces. And yeah, I love the art. It's a nice gritty style, all while telling this love story. It's a great book. I look forward to it every month. And I think one of the things that it suffered from was that the publication schedule. And I think it'll read better once I can sit back down and read it back to back in a trade format. All right, and the last one we'll talk about before we get to the official top 10 is a book that came out of nowhere, surprised me, had no clue it was a thing. It's by James Stokoe. It's Orphan and the Five Beasts. Now, this is Orphan and the Five Beasts, Bath of Blood. This is a sequel series that I did not know. I picked it up because I looked at the art, and I mean that's just a beautiful cover. So I picked it up. I saw it was a number one, and then I started reading it, and I realized, wait a second, it's like I was jumping in the middle of something, and I was. So there was a series that came out a couple years ago. It was the initial Orphan and the Five Beasts, the first 4-issue miniseries, and it's about Orphan Mo, who is an apprentice to this kung fu master who sets her out on a mission. There are 5 of his past students who have kind of turned bad, and they're the 5 beasts of the land. And Orphan Mo sets out to go after each of these five fallen pupils, and it's kind of like a Kill Bill hit list. She's going down. The first miniseries was the first 2 beasts that she goes after. This miniseries picks up her quest to kind of track down the rest of the 5 beasts. Very violent, good humor, just a really enjoyable read that, like I said, came out of nowhere, and I have I loved it. As soon as I read started reading the first issue, realized I was lost. I bought the first trade digitally and just blew through that, and and it's one that you go back and you can look at each page and just study it. There's so many lines on each page. It's just beautiful, beautiful art. And I love when it's a creator, it's a single creator. It's James Stokoe does the art, the writing. He hand letters the writing, the hand letters the dialogue on the page. So as a fan of original art, to see that done, I love that technique. So it's just there's a reason why it took a few years for this sequel series to come out, because there's a lot of love that goes into creating this book, and that comes across, and it's something that should be celebrated. And yeah, go read it. All right, so let's get into the official top 10. Now, this is hard to rank these. All of these are great books. There were actually some books in the honorable mention category that I wanted to be in the top 10, but just when it all kind of where the chips fell where they were, I was like, okay, well, yeah, I guess this is the top 10. So kicking it off is a book that, again, it's one that really caught me by surprise. It was not a creative team that I was familiar with. I know of this creative team. I know that they're very they have their fans, but this is the first thing I read from them, and it's W. Maxwell Prince and Martin Morazzo. It's Superman: The Kryptonite Spectrum from DC Comics. This was, again, super surprising. And now, the premise got me from the beginning. It's Superman who discovers that there are these different forms of kryptonite, and he doesn't know what the effects of them are on him. So he recruits Batman to help him out, and he wants to test them all on himself to see what the effects are. And he enlists Batman's help to say, "Hey, I don't know what's going to happen, but be here to help deal with whatever happens to me, and I know we'll get through this." This is a creative team behind the Ice Cream Man series, and I know that's very popular with fans. And I also, after reading this, I read the first, I think, 6 issues of Ice Cream Man, because I really like the witty dialogue. There's a dry humor aspect to this that caught me off guard. I really enjoyed it. The dialogue is fantastic, and this is a book that's not for everyone. At its core, I think it described this, and it's essentially one of those DC Comics Silver Age crazy stories that are just wild and zany, but it's told I think, intelligently here. It's not just kind of like, oh, this is a silly thing for kids, like it was in the Silver Age. They just kind of like throw away nonsense stories. There's a lot of nonsense in here, but it's actually smart nonsense. Put it that way. There's just some crazy things that happen. Each issue shows the effects of one of the different types of kryptonite on Superman. The first 4 issues, and then the 5th issue kind of ties it all together as far as wraps it up. It's a really solid 5-issue story, and that's one of the reasons why this one sneaks into the top 10, because it's a 5-issue story, start to finish. I know exactly what it is. Some of the other series are like ongoing, and I love ongoing series, but there's just something about being able to say, okay, this is a book that I can recommend to a certain person. Now, it's not going to be for everyone. I fully will admit this is not a book for everyone. But if you like well-written dialogue, if you like some witty humor, dry humor, check it out. It's crazy, but I really, really enjoyed it. I'll buy the trade when it comes out, just because I don't tend to read single issues back to back. I don't tend to read when I have the singles. I don't always go back and find them in the short boxes and then read the past issues again. So I really am looking forward to reading that one when it comes out in trade, because I think it cohesively, once you read it all together, I think it will be an even better read. Next up, we're going to talk about another miniseries. It was a 5-issue series that, as it was coming out, I did not buy the singles. I had heard good things about it, but it just, for whatever reason, I think it was I went to buy it, but issue 1 was sold out, and then I just was like, nah, whatever. But yeah, it's Out of Alcatraz by Christopher Cantwell and Tyler Crook. Now, this is a book. It's a what if that's based in reality. We'll put it that way. So back in the 60s, there was the famous breakout of Alcatraz, where there were a couple prisoners who broke out of Alcatraz, and they were never found. And a lot of people just assumed that they drowned crossing the bay, so they were never found. They didn't know what happened to them. So they've kind of had this like urban legend myth to them, like, oh, what if they survived and the FBI has tried to track them down? This is essentially it's a made up what if situation or scenario. It's like, this is a made up explanation of what could have happened. So it's a what if story. So it starts off with them escaping from Alcatraz, and then really, it's a book about what escape and what freedom really means. The prisoners are free, but they're relying on people to help them, and then they kind of get roped into having to do things for the people who have helped them escape. So they're free, but they're not quite free, and it's them dealing with that. And the flip side is there's these like FBI agents who are after them, and they're obsessed with tracking down these criminals. So they're not free of this because they're obsessed with tracking them down, and they can't find them. So it's they're tied to this event as well. So it's all about these two parallel paths of what the criminals, what the escapees are doing, and what the FBI agents are doing to track them down. And their paths run parallel to each other. Their stories run parallel, and of course they collide towards the end. And the beautiful Tyler Crook artwork in this is phenomenal. The watercolors, that's a big part of what the appeal is to me. But I do like the aspect of what it is to truly be free. And I love what it had to say. And again, it's a 5-issue thing. You can just say, hey, here's this book, go read it. And it's a comic that is not your typical superhero comic, but is uniquely something that this medium can do. So it's definitely worth reading, worth checking out. Okay, next up, here's another DC book that makes the list. That this is a year of a lot of attention to Batman. There were Hush 2, Jim Lee and Jeff Loeb. That was not good. I really try to stay positive on a lot of things, but the Jim Lee art in that was really good. But the story, I hope there's someone out there who enjoyed it, but I found it to be really clunky and a mess, and it just made no sense. I dropped it after I think like two issues, and that was enough for me to be like, this is not good. But But yeah, and there's also Absolute Batman, which is, everyone, that is a juggernaut in the comics industry. And yeah, for good reason. I mean, it's a good alternate take on Batman. I understand why it's very popular. And, I'm glad for the industry that it's doing so well because that just, it gets people in shops. It gets people to read other things. And I think one of the other things that it might get people to read is Batman Dark Patterns. So this is written by Dan Waters and art by Hayden Sherman. Hayden Sherman also is doing the art on Absolute Wonder Woman. So with the Absolute popularity, all of those books are doing well. And, hopefully that will get people to check out other comics. And Sherman as the artist on Absolute Wonder Woman, this would make sense for someone to eventually stumble onto. And it's very worthy. It's my favorite Batman book of the year. Just because there's so many Batman stuff, and I did read, I didn't read all the Batman stuff, but I did read the new relaunch of the main Batman title. That was okay. That's fine. But I read the first issue and thought, okay, I didn't go back for the second issue. But yeah, this Batman Dark Patterns is another one that is just an easy sell. It's a 12-issue series about the Batman that I want to read about. It's the Batman. I think they said in their kind of head canon, this fits right after Batman Dark Victory. So it's still a younger Batman, and he's not perfect. He makes mistakes. It's in a Gotham that's not completely overrun by the rogues gallery that we know. They're there, but they're not. It's still grounded in somewhat reality, not like too over the top. So it's kind of like the polar opposite of Absolute Batman. But it's 12 issues, and each 3 issues there's a different case that Batman is working on. So it introduces a new villain in the first arc, issues 1 through 3. Really fascinating start to the book, and then moves on to issues 4, 5, and 6 for a second case, and then so on and so on. So I think I want to say the first 2 or 3 issues came out last year, but then the rest of it came out this year. So I really liked the finish. I thought it tied together well. It's going to be another one that's just going to be easily digestible to say, okay, you want to read a good, solid Batman book? Here's Batman Dark Patterns. Go. Those are the types of things that I'm really attracted to right now in reading comics. Just things that are have a beginning, middle, and an end. A story that I can read start to finish, and I don't have to get hooked on an ongoing thing. There are some ongoing series on here. We'll talk about those, but it's the idea that I don't want to have to go through too many creative changes. If I find a book that I like the artist, I like the writer, I like how it's presented, I want that to have an end. And we'll talk about that later in the list. But so Batman Dark Patterns is one that absolutely someone should read. It's if people say the critique on Absolute Batman is, oh, it's not my Batman. Well, if you want to read what my Batman is, which might be what your Batman is, Batman Dark Patterns is that book. So I think the trade for all 12 issues comes out in a month or two. So yeah, keep it on your radar, read that book, and you're welcome. All right, moving on. There's another 6-issue miniseries that came out this year that caught me by surprise. I did a lot of, when I was at the comic shop, I would just kind of pick up issue ones that I thought looked interesting. And I'm glad I picked this one up. But it's Matthew Rosenberg and Stefano Landini. We're taking everyone down with us. This book really, really surprised me. I was not familiar with Matthew Rosenberg's writing, but it's like an action. It's a story about a daughter who is living on an island with her father, and her father is detached from being a parent. He is a scientist who's busy in his lab doing his experiments and doesn't have time for his daughter. He loves his daughter, but just is so focused on his work that he has his robots that he's created, and those are the caretakers for his daughter. So it starts off his daughter's playing like hide and go seek with these cybernetic robots, and the story takes it from there. Something happens to this girl's father, and it's her on the run trying to figure out what happened to her father. And her companion on this trip is one of those robots. So it's a very messed up and strange father-daughter story. it's the kickoff to this this new universe called the Rook spy thriller. Rook is the James Bond type character of this story, and he's set out to go after the little girl because it turns out the father is maybe not the greatest guy. So it's this big kind of spy organizations after each other. There's good spies, bad spies, big grand adventure of Rook after this girl. There's other colorful characters that come into it, and that's the thing that really that's what makes this book shine. All of the kind of supporting characters that come in throughout the 6-issue journey, I would want to read a book about any one of those characters because they're well written. It's entertaining. The humor of it, again, it's another like dry humor type thing, but the humor caught me off guard. I didn't know that was very present in Rosenberg's writing, but man, I got some good solid laughs in this book. So all in all, the whole package is something I would recommend people check out. Now, there is going to be a sequel series, but it's set in that universe, and it's going to focus on that James Bond, that Rook character. And yeah, he's a James Bond that does all the James Bond type things like womanizing and drinking, and he's he not a good guy, but it's read it. It's quite good. All right, next up, we are going to the Ghost Machine side of comics, of Image Comics, and it's Redcoat. Now, I've talked about Redcoat before. The I think issues 9 through 15 came out this year, and yeah, this book continues to be just really, really fun. Many of the issues are kind of standalone things. So it's about Simon Pure, who is a British soldier who is granted the powers of immortality. And when it starts out, he is not a good guy. He's like a Han Solo, out for himself type character. And it's the idea is, if this type of person was granted immortality, how long would it take them to actually grow as a person and not be so self-centered? You get that this year. We got a lot of you see the change in Simon Pure. So he's not just a self-centered individual. So he encounters different. What I like about the series, it jumps around in time. So he encounters different characters in like American folklore throughout the years. Like this issue 9 is him and Johnny Appleseed. So Johnny Appleseed, drops some knowledge on him and shows a better way to maybe live. And it's these bits and pieces that Simon Pure has picked up. And you see that in each issue, there's something he learns from each character. Like the next issue, issue 10, was he encounters Annie Oakley. So I like it that it's non-linear, but you see as a whole, you see the things that improve Simon Pure as a person. So and then I think issues 11 through 13 introduce the Northerner, and I'm a big fan of the Civil War era, and I think it's a fascinating time. So to have this 3-issue kind of trilogy set this year, that was really, really good, really entertaining, and it's about people are trying to alter. The Northerner is a time traveler, so there are people trying to alter time, and so it's like a time traveler dealing with someone who's immortal and having their paths cross, and the kind of story potential that can come from there. That's really interesting. And then that's all going to lead to Ghost Machine is having I think it's called The First War. That's a crossover between like Geiger and I don't know if it's Rook Exodus 2, but I know it's Geiger, Junkyard Joe, and Redcoat. Those are all kind of crossing over. And I have not been reading Geiger or Rook Exodus. I read the first couple issues of Rook. Really liked it. Read the first 6 issues of Geiger from a couple years ago that launched the character. I liked that, but I've not read any of the ongoing Geiger. But I really enjoy the Ghost Machine stuff. Just the only one that I'm reading on a month-to-month basis is Redcoat. But yeah, all of them offer something different and are quite unique, and I would recommend checking them out if you just want to look at a series of like a handful of books that give you a good flavor of what comics can offer. Ghost Machine is a good imprint to kind of latch onto because it's all well written. I didn't talk about it, but it's Jeff Johns, and the art is by Brian Hitch. So a couple of guys who know how to craft a good comic book. They're really good, and so check them out. But but Redcoat for sure. And we just got news that Redcoat is going to be a movie, which is interesting because, or at least it's option to, explore that to see if it can become a movie, because you never know. Just having a project green lit does not mean a movie is going to be made. But I don't know. I kind of think this would be a much better TV show. So I'm kind of surprised to hear that it was a movie, but whatever. Doesn't matter. Redcoat's great. Go read it. Moving on. So I think I guess this would be number 5. And this is a book that some might be surprised that it's not higher. And I actually, because the rest of the 1 through 4 is so great, this was almost not as high as it is. And which again, might be surprising to you, but it's G.I. Joe. So the Energon universe, not we all, but if you know anything that any of the videos that I've done this year, you know that I'm really high on the Energon universe. And G.I. Joe, The Art of Tom Riley, definitely things that I have been focusing on, really, really enjoying. Now, the G.I. Joe started off last year. I think the first 2 issues were actually published last year. And then this year we got issues 3 through 16. And yeah, it's been really great. So the first volume, you see all of the characters come together. It's Duke and Cobra Commander leading their teams, and they're on a collision course. And the first volume is that first meeting between Cobra Commander and Duke, and it's phenomenal. It's all of the groundwork that was laid in the 4 lead-in miniseries: the Duke, Cobra Commander, Destro, and Scarlet. All of those kind of are well, not Scarlet yet, but that stuff is coming. But Destro, Cobra Commander, and Duke, that all is leading to this formation of G.I. Joe. There are events that happen in Transformers that also are the kind of catalyst for the events that happen in G.I. Joe number 1. So you see that connective nature of the Energon universe, and we're getting those connective thread payoffs that are happening, and it's really good. So the first 6 issues was Tom Riley. Joshua Williamson is the writer. The second volume was also Joshua Williamson as the writer, but it was Andrea Milana was the artist for the second volume. And I like this volume. I don't like it as much as the Tom Riley stuff, and that could be just because I'm such a Tom Riley fan. But it's also that the second volume takes more of a look at it. Slows things down a little bit. You get a little more character focused stuff, which is good. I mean, I think that's important to have as a whole. It can't be this big 80s action kind of G.I. Joe versus Cobra. It can't be that all the time. So I'm glad that we got some character stuff here. It did not. It didn't land as much with me on a month-to-month basis. It's a solid read from issue to issue. When you read the trade, it's great. It's just on a month-to-month, it kind of it took a little bit of a backseat to some of the other series I was reading. But then Volume 3 comes back with the Dreadnought War, and this has been phenomenal. The third arc, it's Tom Riley back on art duties. It's a really fast-moving, action-packed story. They've been shipping it twice a month. And then we just got issue 16, which is part 4 of 5. So issue 17 is coming out in January. But if we were ranking this just based on the first 2 volumes alone, I do think that G.I. Joe would fall lower on my list. But because we got the Dreadnought War coming in there, and it really it takes everything that was established in the first volume and then takes it to the next level. And I love the building, the character building that's happening, the progression of the story. All of it is done intelligently. And then also you get some of the character stuff that was established in the second volume. There's follow through in the third act. So it's being done intelligently. And that's all you can ask. And so as an ongoing series, I sometimes have a hard time with changeover in art, but thankfully the writing has been consistent. But all in all, it's a great book, and it's something that I feel like more people are checking out G.I. Joe now that the Dreadnought War is happening, because it's just a great action-packed, balls to the wall action story, and it's been phenomenal. So, yeah, G.I. Joe, great read. It's not and I've said this before, but I'll say it again. When you think of G.I. Joe, you think of it's like American military propaganda, and This is not that. This is just it's essentially like a superhero comic, but it's just a bunch of a cast of colorful characters that have different. They're nuanced. Their allegiances aren't just not black and white. There's subtleties involved, and it's just a fascinating read. It's just a really rewarding reading experience that I'm having a lot of fun with. So that's what ranks it higher than I think it might have been if it was just the first arc. So anyway, G.I. Joe is great. Moving on. So this is I guess number 4. This book, Assorted Crisis Events. This is the trade for issues 1 through 5. We are at issue 7 out now for the year. This book is just an emotional gut punch every single issue. Now, the idea, so it's Dennis Camp as a writer, Eric Zawadzki is the artist, and then the colorist is Jordi Belair. Jordi Belair also did the color on the actually Exquisite Corpses and G.I. Joe. So her color work is phenomenal. Again, it's not for everybody. It's not the traditional approach to coloring in a comic book, and I understand that might not be for everyone, but I think it's great, and I really enjoy it because it provides something different. It doesn't have to be, the things that I find interesting in comics are not the traditional type stuff. That is great at times for sure. I'm not discounting that, but I like reading something different. I like a different approach to what comics can offer, and that's the stuff that's exciting me now, currently in this part of my comics reading journey. So anyway, Assorted Crisis Events. The idea behind this book is that it's an anthology series. Each issue deals with a different person on the planet that is dealing with some type of crisis. Now, it's the idea of the crisis that we all know from comics, the big, timelines colliding, different Earths colliding, the universes being reboot, those massive DC stories where it's all of these things happening. It's the idea of what happens during one of those events where time is getting rewritten, or whatever the crisis may be. What happens to the day-to-day humans that work in a 9 to 5 that have to deal with whatever the heck is going on with these merging Earths or timelines colliding or whatever. So each issue deals with a different person dealing with a different type of crisis. The first issue just sees this woman who's trying to just fix her watch, but random things are appearing. Dinosaurs show up. There's just random things that just pop in and has to deal with on a day-to-day basis. It just gets in the way of her mundane life. And the second issue, really heavy, more dinosaurs, but there's it takes a look at immigration, and it's a very uncomfortable read, but each issue looks at the human condition in a different way. And yeah, this one, second issue is hard to read, and I've talked about it a couple different times, but even when I read the trade, I skipped over the second one because it was very impactful, but it's a comic I didn't want to revisit too often. So, but issue 3 is super great. It's the kind of collision of two Earths, and the idea of actually kind of another look at immigration, but and that's the one thing that. There is some social commentary in this book, so if you don't want any social commentary in your comics, then maybe don't read this. However, you're missing out because it actually is. It's thought-provoking, and it's rewarding, and it's something that I've not seen offered in a comic before, and it's absolutely that's why it's so high on this list, because it just every month it fascinated me. Issue 3 is really fascinating. There's two Earths. And they're identical in almost every single way, except that one of them is deteriorating at a faster rate. So what happens when all of the people that are left on this Earth that is about to die? I mean, the planet is dying. So the inhabitants of that Earth then make it over to Earth 1. So it's Earth 1 and it's Earth 1 and Earth 2. But so the inhabitants of Earth 2 make it to Earth 1, but then it's dealing with these people. It's dealing with what happens when you have an alternate version of yourself that's now here on this planet, and things that, different personal relationships come into play, and it's fascinating. It's a fascinating read. And then there's other issues that there is a girl dealing with. She's stuck in a time loop, and it's I think it's like a 60 second time loop of her parents fighting, having a really nasty, nasty fight. And she is forced to relive this minute over and over and over and over again. I think she lives it for the equivalent of 60 years. And then all of a sudden she snaps out of it and then picks up right where she was after that first minute. So it's having that trauma of dealing with that very traumatic moment with her parents, and then being forced to just continue living on from that point, where it's people don't believe her that what she's dealing with. It's impossible to kind of like diagnose what she had gone through, and it's fascinating. It's a fascinating look at trauma and the the unseen things that people are going through, and that's the thing that you take away from this is those type of things. I mean, it's every single issue is some of them are much heavier than others, and I think that's there are some that kind of take that aren't as serious, and I think that's important because it gives a good balance as you go from issue to issue. If every single one was as heavy as, like, say, issue 2, it would just be very dark and depressing, and it would be a very tough series to get through. But taken as a whole, fascinating read, and it's an ongoing series, and more people should be reading this comic because it's just simply fascinating. So, all right, moving on. We're getting to this is number 3. Now, this is a surprise that people might think this one should be higher on my list, but yeah, it's Transformers. So we're going back to the Energon universe. So this year saw the 3rd and the 4th arc printed in trade, and this saw the conclusion to Danny Warren Johnson's 24 issues on the series. And as a whole, this is going to be something that stands, I think, through time, that you can say, okay, this issue, if you don't want to read all of the Transformers stuff, you can read this 24 issues, and you you get a great book. You get a great start to finish story, even though it really is just the setup to the larger things that are happening in the Energon universe. So issue 25 sees Robert Kirkman take over the writing duties. Robert Kirkman is the architect of the Energon universe at Skybound, so he knows a thing or two about what the big plans are for the Energon universe, the larger connected nature of things. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. I feel like Daniel Warren Johnson was allowed to tell the story he wanted to tell in this 24 issues, and I think that was part of the appeal to get him to stay on for a full 24 issues was to allow him to kind of to do his own thing. Yes, there are connective nature things through the rest of the Energon universe, but this is Transformers was largely self-contained for that first 24 issues, and now with Kirkman on board for issue 25, things are kind of expanding out, and you see the more connected nature from the other series, and that's fine. It just Transformers, I tell you, the first 24 issues is phenomenal. It's a fascinating. You care about these robotic characters. The humanity in them comes through. It's the Daniel Warren Johnson writing that you would expect. The Jorge Corona art is, oh my God, it's some of the best. Best Transformers art I've ever seen came from Jorge Corona. I, of course, love what Danny Warren Johnson did, but yeah, Jorge Corona is my guy. When you ask me what my favorite Transformers artist would be, it would be Jorge. So, yeah, really great read. It's really about war and its lasting impacts on all of the participants of this war, and how it affects them differently, how they handle it. The nuanced nature, again, it's like there's a lot of nuance in the characters. They're some of the Autobots don't like what Optimus Prime is doing. Some of the Decepticons don't like what Megatron or Soundwave or Starscream. The Decepticons have multiple leaders throughout the series, but it's the infighting in each of the factions, the Autobots and the Decepticons, and it's fascinating. It's just a really, really good, solid read that almost anyone can pick up. You don't need to know much about Transformers, and you could be dealt a really solid story. And yeah, love it. Top 2 books. All right, now this, again, if you know the things that I've been reading and you know the art that I've been buying, this is not going to be a surprise to you. But the second spot, another Danny Warren Johnson written series, but The Moon is Following Us. Yeah, so it's written by Danny Warren Johnson, art by Danny Warren Johnson and Riley Rossimo, and 10-issue series. I think the first couple issues came out in 2024, but the rest of it came out in 2025. I love this freaking book. Like it's the book it's so high on my list because it just stayed with me. After I read it, especially with the ending, this book has stayed with me, and that's what puts it so high. So I've talked about it before, but it's the story of two parents who their daughter, 6-year-old daughter Penny, one day just did not wake up and doesn't wake up. She's like stuck in this coma. They don't know how to help her. They are offered advice. The medical field, they don't have the answers. They don't know what to do. Someone comes along, this like mystical type wizard character comes along named Tash. He tells them, kind of like guides them into, let them know what they could do to save their daughter. And so they enter her dreams. They go into her dream world. And the art duty split is Daniel Warren Johnson has all of he draws all of the scenes that are set in the real world, and then Riley Rossimo draws everything that is set in the dream world. And man, what a great pairing of artists. Now, Riley's style is, again, I don't think it's for everybody, but it fits this book so well. All of the things that happen in the dream world, the way that it's drawn is just it's beautiful. It's such a beautiful book, and it definitely tugs at the heartstrings. And as a parent, I feel like, and I've talked about this before, you don't have to be a parent to enjoy this series, but if you are a parent, it's that extra layer of the emotional connection to having a child and what you would do to protect them, to help them. And it deals with, again, kind of like in the way Transformers deals with war and how it impacts each of the participants. It's if parents are presented with different types of situations, or how do they respond? The Sam and Duncan are the husband and wife. They respond differently to the events that are happening to their daughter, and it's them dealing with each other, and they don't always agree with what the best way forward is. So it's them struggling to communicate and connect and move forward in their quest to save their daughter. So that's fascinating. Some of the other characters that are in the book, you understand what their reasonings are, their choices, and it's such a great read. Like, it's so I cried while reading the 10th issue. It's such an emotional payoff. Worthwhile payoff. I cried multiple times. I explained. I've mentioned this before, but I explained when I was telling my wife about this story, about the end of it. I cried while explaining the ending to her, and it's a book that, yeah, did it go for did Danny Warren Johnson target parents to kind of go tug at their heartstrings? Yeah, he did, but I'm glad he did, because it was a fantastic series that, like I said, so the first two the two trades are out. It's issues 1 through 10. I really hope we get a deluxe, a hardcover collection of all 10 issues. Doesn't have to happen anytime soon. I want it's. Yeah, I want this book in every format that they will give it to me. So, yeah, great read. And they announced recently that Daniel Warren Johnson and Riley Rossimo are going to continue their partnership. They're working on a new book, but it's going to be all DWJ writing and all Riley Rossimo art. So I'm on board. This is a good duo, and I'm willing to read anything that they do together. So yeah, can't wait. And they said that there's a loose connection to The Moon Is Following Us. I don't know what that could be, but is it the start of some other DWJ Riley Rossimo universe of stories? Who knows? But they seem to be building something, and I'm in. So that brings us to my favorite read of the year, and this is a book that I knew I was going to enjoy, but I just because of the artist, but I didn't know that I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. And we'll just jump into it. It's Drome by Jesse Lonergan. Now, this book, how to describe what this book is somewhat difficult. It essentially is a creation myth of these gods that create a new civilization. Basically, it's the human experiment. Lonergan sets the visual rules of the comic right on the first page with its 35-panel grid featuring a god above, a barren landscape below, and a portal between connecting these two planes of existence. This page provides us with the building blocks for the entire book, both in content and design. What follows is a story showcasing, among other things, the inherent violence of man, the need for love, glory, and just about the entire spectrum of human emotions. Jesse uses each page to not only guide our eyes, but also our perception of the events within the story. Shattered grids show us powerful, chaotic action, curves help show us the passage of time, and compressed panels meant to convey physical oppression. Each page offering our senses something new. All of these techniques are introduced early, and it builds to a massive in scope finale. This book will give you a level of entertainment equal to the time that you invest into it. You can absolutely read it quickly given the light dialogue nature of it. However, the more you reread it and study each page, the more you're rewarded for that investment. I've read it multiple times. There's times I'll carry this book around with me. It's really kind of beat up. I mean, there's like the dust jacket is not. I try to keep my books in good shape, but this one it's like a textbook that you want to read. And I know, again, I don't know if like mathematic layout textbook. I don't know if that I'm selling that this is like a book that you absolutely should read, but it totally is. It's something that if you are a fan of the visual storytelling that we get out of comic books, which I imagine you are because you're watching this video. So yeah, you like comics. This is something that you've not seen before, and you're gonna really enjoy it. There's so much here that like I just landed on this page, like just. Everything that's contained within, and you can get lost in each panel, but your eye is guided. Like there's lines that show motion. Your eye is taken on this journey through each page, and it's just freaking fascinating. So I don't know. I mean, I have no clue if I sold that to you, but whatever. It's the book that like I said, I revisited the most this year, and it even came out like mid-year. So. Love this book. So yeah, so those are the books that I read this year that I really, really enjoyed. I tried to keep it short and brief, but I don't know. I have no idea if I properly conveyed what makes some of these books super great, but all of them are books that I would recommend. And if you've read any of them, please reach out. You can either in the comments or email me if you want to have a conversation about these books, because that's really, again, why I have been making videos. It's because I've liked engaging with other comic fans about these books and about these stories and about the things that we enjoy. There's a lot out there that is designed to divide us, is designed to separate us in ways that's not helpful. Comics is something that we can all, that this is something that we can kind of come together on and appreciate together. And that's what I've really liked doing. I've liked connecting with others, and I've done that throughout the year. My love of Transformers, I was invited and I joined the team at Teletraan Tapes. That's a podcast that had been already going on for a couple months. It's three other Transformers fans who started the podcast of them talking about each issue. I commented on a few of the videos, and then they saw some of my videos, and hey, you really obviously love this book as well. I was invited onto their podcast, and then now I'm one of the regular hosts of it. And what's grown out of my love of the books, my love of then sharing what I loved. And then how that's built relationships beyond that has been great. And another one is my friend Monkmaster B. Now he's one that I've met through YouTube. It was my love of comics, of comic art. I found his videos. He helped turn me on to Jesse Lonergan's work, and our friendship has grown from there. We started our own separate channel called the Tired Dads Comic Club. We haven't had as many many videos out as we'd like because we're both tired dads and we're busy, and I haven't done as many videos as I would like to do on this channel. But whatever. Point being, sharing what I love has only enriched my experience with comics, and as my kind of context in the like the YouTube world kind of grow. I love it. I love being able to connect with others about the things that I love. Like I said, there's so much that divides us. Let's celebrate the things that we share. So anyway, thank you very much for watching this one. I don't know if I'll have another video out by the end of the year because, the holiday break is coming up, and that gets pretty busy with the kids and family and all that stuff going on. So just in case I don't publish anything for the rest of the year, thank you for everything that engaging with the conversation in my videos, the comments. Really appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to 2026. So here's to a happy and healthy and a comics-filled 2026 for all. That's what's great about comics. There's something out there for everyone, and I just like being able to shine a light on some of the things that I think are out there that maybe people don't realize are out there. And it's a lot of fun. So anyway, thank you again for watching this one, and I will see you soon.